All right, the shoe is precariously balanced on the suitcase again, and so that means I'm making another video. Uh, this video I wanted to go over my favorite books that I own, not from the reading perspective, but in the perspective that they say you should never judge a book by its cover, but some books have really cool covers. A couple of years ago, I decided that I wanted to try and build a physical library, which when you live in a city and you don't have that much room is maybe not the most practical all the time. But because I made that decision, I try and buy some cooler copies of books that I can find. And I wanted to run through a few of my favorites that I own. To be clear, none of these are really valuable. I'm no antique book collector, no super deluxe definitive editions of anything that are worth that are going to send my kids to school or anything, but these are just books that I like looking at on the shelf, that I like owning, that I think are cool. So some of them are sets of books, some of them are books that I just like the design of the cover or illustrations on the inside or what have you. So with no further ado, let's get into it. First ones are my copies of the Dark Tower series. This is a 7-book series of which I own all 7. 6 of them I have in something like this. These are the only 2 hardbacks I have, but the rest are paperback, and they have the first edition look to them. What I like about these and what I think is really cool is they've, of course, got the cool cover art. They meet that requirement. But also on the inside of these is some illustrations right on the inside of the cover there. And then it has some really cool, vivid, detailed illustrations about the story, or, what's going on in the story at the time. I guess spoiler alert. But I love these. I love reading these. These are obviously written by Stephen King, who has a weird mind. He's written a million books, but his Dark Tower series is where he kind of lets his mind run wild. And sometimes it's cool to see the visual that the publisher hired the illustration artist to do. It's cool to see maybe what differs from my perception of it versus how Stephen King described it. So I loved having the illustrations for these books because they're Stephen King doing weird fantasy, and he describes some weird horror type stuff, and you're wondering what in the world does that look like, or just some landscapes that maybe you're maybe wondering about, and they put them in this book, and they're really cool. And I almost have the set of them in either hardback or softback, but I'm still missing that first one. So those are the Dark Tower books. These next is just like 2 standard $10 copies of the Odyssey and the Iliad. But again, you'll notice a theme about me is that I like the pictures. So like a child, I like to turn the Odyssey into a picture book. But again, these have kind of a cool inside of the cover, cool appearance on the outside. The real cool thing about these is, on top of listing out all the characters on the front and kind of giving a description of each chapter as it goes, the book is filled with these kinds of illustrations. Some of them are just statues, some of them are artwork like this. Again, just really cool. I enjoy seeing what artists come up with when they read these type of books versus what is in my mind. And plus they look pretty good on the shelf, and for $10 they're just cool to have. My one complaint about these though is that this paper is feels like a picture. It feels like photo paper, so sometimes when you're reading, the light glares off of these, make it possible to read. Iliad and the Odyssey. Let's see, let's do these 2 books at the same time. These are both by Robert Louis Stevenson. So we have Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and Treasure Island. let's start with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I love this little paperback. You see 95 cents, so nothing special. Found it at the used bookstore and paid more than 95 cents for it. But what's cool about this to me is that sometimes it can be kind of hard to find Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde or short stories of this in just printed by itself. It's always Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde plus other Robert Louis Stevenson short stories or other sci-fi short stories. So to find it in this really cool, funky printing that just looks cool and by itself was really appealing. And it also has some interesting little illustrations on the inside. You know, I'm a sucker for those by now. So my copy of, and I love the color green, so love this, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Treasure Island here, you got your gold doubloons on the front. It still has like the book club little pamphlet that came with it, which was kind of cool, the Heritage Club. This was also printed in the 70s like the last one, but it comes with the illustrations. Great book, by the way. I recommend, and, you know, separating the parts, I recommend Treasure Island for anyone, really. I feel like there's not enough good pirate stories in the world. We got Pirates of the Caribbean and then, what? Nothing else. Hollywood, if you're listening, make more pirate movies. Next one, one in my last video that I just like, this crazy copy of Frankenstein. The dust jacket is actually completely clear, which is kind of weird, but I loved, first off, whatever people are doing with this, love that. Most of the time, books that have this, I can't buy them because I'm not interested in reading them. So even though they look good on the shelf, I know I'll never read them, but I love kind of the painting of the side of the pages and including that in the design of the book. What I really like about this one is this front image that's really weird and freaky, but I like that this depiction of Frankenstein's monster isn't the one that we think of, like the green guy with the flat head and the black hair with the prongs in his neck. It's like it's more like the book describes him. And honestly, a lot of the like cool copies of this book that you'll find, they're either going to be that, or any copy, they're either going to be that cloth bound classic kind of look where it is just like a lightning bolt or something on the book, or like it'll harken to the image that we normally know with like the green Frankenstein on the front. But this book has a more accurate Frankenstein for how the book describes him on the front, and I thought that was really interesting and cool. And then the clear dust jacket that goes right along with that, that allows you to see the illustration. Next, another book again that I saw, that you saw last video if you watched. My copy of Percy Jackson. This book is crazy. It's so cool. There's Camp Half-Blood, a map of that, which young me just would have killed for a copy, this type of copy, but it's fairly new. They've been releasing these type of copies of this book, which are just so cool. They've got the lightning bolt on the side, which I think is so cool. I just thought it was a really beautiful copy coming with this. Looks cool. Great book. One of my favorites. Also looks good. So that's kind of one level of the books that I like. Just the ones that I bought because they look good. They appeal to me. I judge a book by its cover. I wanted to put it on the shelf. I wanted to own it. Just the look of them that I liked, that I thought were cool. Then the next style of book that are some of my favorites that I own. So my next style of book that is my favorite are ones which I have had signed by the author. And I don't have a lot of these. I have 2 sets signed by the same author. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are signed by the same guy, and these are signed by the same guy. First one, my David Baldacci books. Again, no special value to these. These are just books that I got signed, and I went to an event where David Baldacci was signing them. If you know, you know, with David Baldacci, for those of us in the DMV, the DC area, he always bases his stories around here in some way, shape, or form, which makes them cool to read if you live in the area. And these are like, what do I call them? These are like my hamburger books. It's like David Baldacci, none of his books are the best book I've ever read, but I enjoy them every time I read them. Kind of like a hamburger. It's not that I would say a hamburger's the best meal I've ever had, but I love a hamburger every time I eat it. So, again, just copies that I think are cool. You know, it's cool to meet the author. It's cool to get a signature. It's cool to get a signature in live ink, as they say on Pawn Stars. So those are those. The next ones I have, I like the design of these just for how they look in the first place. And these are my Dungeon Crawler Carl hardbacks. I think these have an amazing design, just all on their own. And what I especially love about these is that once you get the dust jacket off, they have this like reflective hardback wording as well. This is just fantastic on the shelf. I think it's just a genius also. Just the bold typeface is genius. Across the store, you can see exactly what you're getting. And on the bookshelf, the same thing. So, but got these signed real recently by Matt Dinneman. Kind of fun. Dungeon Crawler. Me. So, it's always cool. I'd like to really build up a collection of signed copies if I could get them. But, you know, we have the book fair or festival here in DC, and a lot of authors come to that, hoping to go to that in September and add to my collection of these. All right, and then last but not least is my, let's move this just a bit. Last but not least is my softcover copies of Harry Potter. Harry Potter is amazing. Don't let anyone ever tell you not to read it, that it's not good or for nerds or kids or that it's witchcraft, even though it is kind of a different type of witchcraft. But love these copies. The spines come together to form an image of Hogwarts. And then, yeah, so again, the spines come together to form Hogwarts, but I also just love the front of each and every one of these is such a cool illustration. All of these have the same type of detailed illustration as a scene from the book, like displayed on the front and the back with quotes. This is just, I mean, you could still probably get this for relatively cheap. I bought this a while back. Again, nothing overly valuable about these, but they're just so cool and lovingly made. And they, to my opinion, they look great on the shelf. And that's all for now. Let me know if you thought, which one you thought was the coolest. Let me know if you have a favorite copy of a book you own. And let me know what other videos I should make if you want to see me do my favorite series I'm thinking about, or nonfiction Christian book, favorite, I don't know, fantasy series. Let me know.